Hello, everybody. How are you doing? We are pressing on through our 12-hour Ibanez takeover of the Andertons social media. I've put my jacket on because it's getting a little bit nippy, cold in the studio because it's getting dark here. And it's in the UK, 5:15 in the evening. We're running all the way till 10 p.m. tonight. And I am really pleased to be joined by my good friend and Ibanez artist, Mr. Sam Bell. He's here for our viewing and audio pleasure. Hello, Sam.
Hi, Lee. Thank you so much for having me on here today. It's good to see. How are you feeling?
I'm doing all right. I've just started to hit the coffees. It's just started. In the odd coffee, but now I'm starting to go, right, need to get on with this now. I need to get some caffeine into me and make sure my energy levels stay up. This is just like a NAM show. This is just like a NAM show. You know, you have the day, you have loads of energy at the beginning of the day, and you have to keep that going. And it gets to the end of the kind of day at the show itself, and then you're like, right, I now need to go out into the world and perhaps go and speak to artists or speak to other dealers, distributors, and it's just, the long days. This is just like NAM.
Well, minus the earache of
minus the earache, minus the sweep to arpeggios and slap of the bass. You walk through the drum hall, this cacophony of rhythmic craziness that's going on. So yeah, and the really bad pizza. I've been avoiding that.
In many ways, in some ways, it's...
Yeah. So what I thought we would talk about, and it's kind of a broad topic, because you are an educator, you are head of guitar at Waterbear in the UK. You are a columnist in Guitar Interactive magazine. You've done demos, you make your own videos, you have a band, you have solo material that you've released yourself. And you're a damn good egg and an amazing player. And I thought, actually, this is a really great opportunity for us to talk about what it takes to be a musician in the current landscape, which has kind of been accelerated, due to COVID. Everybody's kind of, trying to broadcast or put their stuff out there. So some of the skill sets, and I was thinking about, potentially what it's like, what your experience has been like as the, person coming maybe to here and sitting down and having to have a camera in your face and film stuff and perform, and what that feels like, and some of the things you've learned from that, and maybe some of the wider skill sets like video production that I can add in as well. So what are your thoughts on all of that, Sam? What do you think it takes to be a musician? I'm not talking about guys and girls that are in bands and then getting in the van to go and tour, and I know that's not even happening now at the minute. But, there's a lot of people wanting to know how to break into the demonstration industry, or wanting to, build a career online. Let's put it that way. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I think the lockdown clearly, and just to acknowledge this, that it's been difficult for everybody in one way or another. And for musicians in the creative industry in particular, it's meant for a lot of people to learn, go outside of their comfort zone to find these new avenues.
Yeah.
And my experience of the lockdown per se has been, just doing everything online all of a sudden, which, to be honest, hasn't been a major change from what I do.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's a big step to go into online teaching. I remember a few days after the first lockdown was called, I had a friend of mine who's a fantastic session drummer phoning me, asking for advice on how to set up Zoom lessons and things like that, how to get the audio and everything. So everyone was just kind of running around trying to find how best to continue. In my own career, I mean, just to talk about myself for a moment, my own experience, and I started playing guitar very young, but when I was 17 and really starting to practice and think about creating music, I never ever would have dreamt that I'm doing what I'm doing now. That's the first thing. I think one of the things that I think has enabled me to keep going, and I'm very grateful to wake up every morning and call myself a professional musician, is keeping an open mind of what I want to do. So that can be presenting videos, that can be learning to edit audio, being a side, I want it to be like a solo artist, but also being happy enough to go and play covers, join wedding bands, doing sessions from home with artists who aren't necessarily in the genres that I'm particularly affiliated with. I love music, and I think the initial spark of that is the love of music and the fact that I love playing guitar, and I love guitar's role in music, and being interested in it has enabled, I don't know how I'm here, but it has enabled me to sort of flow through all the different opportunities as an educator, as a demonstrator. I don't know if I might have gone off subject ever so slightly.
No, this is it, because I know you, we're friends, and you're a very personable guy, and I know you've kind of had to wrestle with how you feel about your playing, and as we all do, and I think in some respects you've been really honest about that on your social media, about how you feel about what you may have just done, or what despite it being amazing, it's just that inner monologue that you have then shared with people. And so, I mean, that's a constant struggle anyway, isn't it? When we always, we kind of want to be better. We've got probably a sound in our head of what we feel that we should be achieving, and then for whatever reason, we aren't meeting the mark in our own minds and our own ears. Well, but, you when from an outsider watching what you do is always incredible.
Very kind of you to say, Lee, and it's an interesting phenomenon that we look at our view of, it can be even in a social interaction, how you might feel you've come across to somebody, and you think, and you kind of ruminate on these small details that only you notice, but other people don't necessarily notice. And there's two aspects of this that I want to maybe address in response to this subject, and that is, the first one is that I'm a very different person now than I was 4 years ago. And I think a lot of the musician's journey, yes, it's about playing guitar well. Yes, it's about being able to have all the skills to be as present things online, find work. You're always having to, it's not like it's not a career where there's a definite, next month. It's weekly. Your income. There's a lot of anxiety in there. So I think musicians really need to spend time looking after their mental health. I think big time, and speaking to each other about it is really important. And maybe back in the day, I was a bit more forthcoming with some of my self-opinion. I realized a lot about myself in that way. And I think all of us can benefit from honest and objective self-reflection, and also appreciating what you have got. And I was going to say, in this lockdown, people say there's no music, there's nothing to do. Well, this is the perfect time to hone your skill set. You can look at what you've got, what you've done, especially if you're a professional musician already. You've probably been running all the time, and to have this break is a bit like scary for some people. So to have this moment of write it down on paper, all the small things I'm good at. I can do this. I've done this in the past. I will do it again. And finding all those smaller skill sets to build upon, I think that's the thing we can be doing in this time. And when I saw the title of this interview for this awesome Ibanez and Andertons Takeover, and it was my segment has been called "How to Be a Musician," and what I took from that is be. We spend so much time sort of thinking about what we've done or what we're going to do, but we don't spend enough time actually, what are we doing now? What we're doing today?
Being present
with what you're doing, and appreciating it. Because if you were to write down on a piece of paper, what's my aspiration in my career? Where do I want to get to? But people go, well, I want to demo guitars, and I want to fly around the world and play great sessions, and play guitar for an awesome artist, whatever it might be, have a signature Ibanez, all that kind of stuff. What does it actually look like, though? Can we actually imagine that? And if we can actually live there, you'd realize that you'd still be wanting to improve. That's the journey. It's always a journey, and there's only ever now. for this moment where we can actually experience that, because you can get there and you're going to feel disappointed. And if you concentrated, if I'm saying you, and it's very bad of me to say that, if we all are a bit more present with what we're doing, I think we actually end up playing better. We become better people. We appreciate what's around us.
Yeah.
And actually that helps our career as a byproduct of being with what we're doing now.
Yeah, that makes a huge amount of sense. But not just on a playing level, just in life in general, being more present. It's very easy. I mean, I was driving into work this morning to come here to do this, and my mind was on doing this. It wasn't necessarily on the drive that I was making. You know, that's dangerous. You know, you kind of drive to work and you go, I can't remember how I got here. Just kind of autopiloted. And I just had to keep reminding myself, do you know what? I need to be more, I've got to be present, got to remain present, even though I've got things on my mind or things that I've got to do. And, you know, we can get caught up in the anxiety of all of that rather than just sitting down and damn well enjoying it in the moment. So you've had a fair amount of pressure on you. You know, when you come here, let's say you came here and we did a couple of videos recently. We did a Genesis video, which was amazing. Played through tracks, and we did an RGD video as well. And it was a case of, you know, dual red lights, wasn't it? You know, you've got red lights that we're all kind of used to pressing record on our own door and recording the audio, but having that going and then filming either yourself or probably even worse, somebody actually with the camera filming what you're doing. How does that feel? I know how it's made me feel in the past, but how does that feel to you, and how have you coped with that over the years? Because you've done a lot of it now, loads of lick library stuff, stuff.
A bit of history. I mean, I remember my first big job that I ever got in guitar world was working for Lick Library, and still doing. There's loads of stuff this year coming out with Lick Library, but my first main job was doing that. And Andy James actually was kind enough to pass that job to me, and he asked me to do a Toes Nabasi 8-string tapping lesson. And he came into the studio on the day, and all I'd done beforehand has been filming myself at home or recording stuff, putting it on Facebook and MySpace back in those days.
Yeah.
And then to have this guy who I really, you know, I've got a lot of respect for Andy. He's a lovely dude and an amazing educator. A good example of this, what you're talking about, is a human being. He'll talk. It's reasonable. Anyway, so he was there, and I think he was eating like a hot dog or something, and he was just watching me play this this Toes Nabasi tech session. And my heart and my face, there's the thing of we've all had it if we've played live, where if in the early days of getting used to playing live, if you make a mistake, there's this hot feeling that everybody in the room is looking at you, because your own attention, it's not actually they're looking at you, it's your own attention is on you.
Onto it. Yeah, you're thinking only of yourself at that moment. And
going back to that present moment thing about, you know, accidents happen when you're not present. And same with the filming thing. If you're thinking about everything, you're trying to control everything, you're not really being with actually what's happening. So fortunately in that moment, that hot-headed feeling of everyone looking at me, it was just me playing a backing track, and it was eventually okay. I did about goodness knows how many takes, and then it was done. But now it's an ongoing thing. But one thing Andy told me, and this is a lesson I'll always remember, is, you know, proper preparation prevents poor performance. You know, that one.
Yeah.
And then I've just been, you know, practicing to make sure that I can be present when I come to play, because I want to enjoy performing. Recently, I did David Lee Roth's Eat 'Em and Smile. I learned the whole album and I taught it for Lick Library, and that'll be out in a year.
I've seen the clips and it sounds amazing. Looking forward to seeing that.
I've had some audio back, and, you know, I didn't recognize the guitar player because I was totally with it in the thing. I'm not being I don't want to
no.
be arrogant, but it wasn't me doing it. The practice I'd put in and being calm in the day, you have to getting enough sleep, having a coffee, taking your time, not rushing into things, being present. All these little checkers before you get to the red light are just little things to help. And also just to realize that, it's not, I think going back to that musician thing about having a fruitful career, it's about reframing the view point.
Yes, very
Like,
much so.
you're here as a demonstrator, you're not here to show off. Maybe you are, to show off a little bit of gear, but really you're showcasing a company's instrument. You're sharing something. You're helping others to understand more about that gear. What you do, Lee, is awesome. I mean, Lee's been very kind to me, but Lee is, when you meet him in person, and I hope that many people who are watching this have and will get to in the future, you're a personable, lovely person.
Oh,
Who you give time, and you want people to understand. You want to help people. You want to educate them. And that's what I love. Educate, being a lecturer. Sharing and helping people find their true, potential.
yeah.
Even though I'm not sat here saying I found my. It's not that. It's actually from not finding it that I want to help people see their true potential.
Be a guiding light. There's a lot of
Yes.
There's so much information out there these days that you actually just need to be the boatman for some people to help them go, well, look, here's all the information. And then this could be, so Sam, here's a great example. So Sam Whiting, how are you doing, my friend? Amazing player. And Sam is a great educator, and his live streams that he's been doing on Twitch? I've seen him then post them over to Facebook. But that's what Sam's doing. He'll be talking about, a way through the harmony, or a way through some time feel. And you can go and find information about this sort of stuff everywhere, but having someone to guide you through it. And it's like when I was talking to Tom earlier and going, okay, Tom, standard 12-bar blues, dominant 7. How do you bring in a bit of melodic minor into that? Now you can go online and find this stuff out, but it's like, what? Actually, you need to be the boatman, and you're so good at that. You are so good at that. The other thing to say is that being a good person, being a genuinely a nice person and respectful of the people around you is so important in an industry. Certainly, I'm thinking about the demo world now,
Yes.
AMI, because it's such a small community of people. And if you're a bad person, you might get the gig, but you're not going to keep it. Someone else is just going to come along and fulfill that role, because they're just pleasant to be around.
Well, I was going to say that there are some. This is a general statement I'm making, I'm aware, but parallels between being a session musician and a gear demonstrator. One of the reasons, I love Danish Pete. He's such a lovely guy, another lovely guy, and a lovely player. And he's all, and he's all about the song. He's got a very, prolific session guitar career, still going super strong, very inspiring. Or people like Tim Pierce, they're playing for the song.
Yeah,
they're playing.
Well, I can't say anything because usually.
Hold on. I wouldn't say, there's a difference, though. I think that doesn't mean that if you play lots of notes and play crazy picking runs and stuff, that means you're not playing for the song. It's all context. It's not. You can't box everything into one thing. But what I'm talking about is that perception thing, turning it around. And I think Victor Wooten said it. Practice to make those around you better.
Yeah.
Make the band sound good. Those sort of statements really affect, what you practice, what you work on, how you judge what you play, and I think to remember that, yes, we are controlling this instrument, but really, we don't have a control over the ideas that we necessarily have. They just sort of come out, who knows where they come from and all that kind of stuff. So you have to sort of leave a bit of space for that. And when you take that direction off yourself and make it about the music, or, you step out of, I'm going to make this happen, and go into what can happen. What are the possibilities? You open everything. You stop doing this and you start doing this, and you'll find yourself in places you never thought you'd be. You know, I'm even right now in this moment, I'm doing here the Ibanez Takeover for Andertons. It's awesome. I love it. With no idea. So this thing always happens from opening yourself up, not trying too much. I think you said about the boatman thing. It's about pointing the boat in the right direction, you don't know what the islands look like when you get there, but you know the bearing that you should be on. And at least if you're doing stuff in the moment, you'll get there. It's going to happen.
So one of the things is probably, you know, as a life lesson, just to be a bit kinder to yourself, maybe, you know, and be objective about your playing, but not to the point where you're just heavily critiquing yourself all the time. It's very easy to listen to that inner critic, isn't it? You know,
I think my inner critic used to be very harsh, and it got to the point where I had to intervene with myself and really look after myself that way. And I think all of us need to sort of check in with that inner voice sometimes and see what kind of tone of voice it is, because it can be quite destructive. But when you start to have a better relationship with it, you understand that it's good to be critical of yourself, but in a constructive, I think the word I've heard in academic circles is a growth mindset. You know, what can I add to improve? You know, rather than this is rubbish and I can't do it, it's okay, well, what small thing can I do to make this better for me? Not better for me as in like, how's it going to make me better? As in, how can I add, like I was saying, finding the skill sets on the peripherals of our already developed musicianship. I don't know where I'm going with this. But
this is great. This is great.
It's just, you know, taking that voice when we come to ourselves. I think one thing that is unhealthy, and we can see that. I'm not going to get into it, but in politics and everything on social media and the news at the moment, it's the same. To talk about it on a more trivial and more first world problems level, guitar players online, and you go on Instagram and you can watch. I can flick through and I can see Rick Graham. Then I can see someone like Danish Pete, and then I can flick through and I can see, you know, I can see Lee Wrathe, I can see Tom Crow, I can see all of it, Sam Whiting, all these amazing guitar players, and I can suddenly be completely off my own track, and I can feel like I need to, you know, there's a sense of, oh, I wish I could do that, and then a judgment comes in and says, well, you should be practicing more, you should be, and you start. This happens rather than just, what can I do today, which is fun. I think Paul Gilbert, who we'll be seeing soon on this takeover today, I think I heard him say in an interview. I might not be right here, but he said, you know, he tries to learn one simple thing a day, and then at the end of the year, you have 300 plus new things about to your playing.
That's a really good thing.
You know, that could be learning a melody to a tune, or a chord progression, or writing a riff, or just practicing your scales, or collaborate. If you've got a computer and social media, you can collaborate with people. People are quite isolated at the moment, so reach out to your bassist friends, your drummer friends, your vocalist friends, and, you know, really use this opportunity just to do that one small thing, which is going to take you along that path. But as you're doing it, love it. Just love it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. 100% agree. And I think there's this desire to be all things to all people. You know, you see players who can seemingly do everything, you know, and you go, oh God, what about my changes playing? Oh, what about my country playing? Oh, what about gypsy jazz? You know, and I think you just have to kind of, to a degree, go, do you know what? I'm just going to accept who I am as a player and enjoy these other things. And if I've got the time and real passion to jump into something, then I will, and not be too harsh on yourself. And this is what I'm talking to myself here, about rather than not being able to do something, going, I just appreciate it, just actually love music, and sit back and go, I don't need to be able to do that to love it, you know. And with guitar players are terrible for doing that. And you know, I can talk. I've got a very good friend, Paul Hose, who played the drums on my instrumental album. I've known him for years, decades, and the drumming community are just so supportive of each other. Now, in the UK, we have a NAMM show, if you like, in February in Birmingham, which is where we are. We call it the Yam Show because that's what you call people from Birmingham, or how they talk. I shouldn't say that. It's not true. But it's a lot of fun. And what started to happen at those shows is that we all got together every year, didn't we? There was you, there's me, there's the Guitar Interactive guys, there's Tom, there's the Guitar Owl boys, there's just all the demonstrators from all various different brands, and just sort of hanging out and enjoying each other's playing in this wonderful community that we have online, but also, in various pockets of actual territories around the world. And I think it's if you're part of that community and you are someone who is listened to, like your good self, then we have a duty of care to make sure that that's the vibe.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think, like you say, first of all, with all the different subjects and feeling like you have to be everything to everybody, you just have to approach it on your own level. And going back to that small portions, but also, that community thing. I think sometimes with the online world, it feels very 2010. The word. I just remember people saying, well, comparing guitarists, Bruce Boulier versus Paul Gilbert, or Marty Friedman versus this Jason Beck, and all this kind of mentality, like it's a sport. Yeah, and that's the right thing. Like, because when I get at the Birmingham Guitar Show, me, there's Nick Jennison, there's Phil Short, there's Sam Whiting, there's Tom Quayle, David Beebe, all that lot. We're all there. We're all different, and that's beautiful. It would be so boring if everyone was the same. Yeah. You look at it, it'd be
really difficult to appreciate anything. One of the highlights for me at a show like that is just to stand and listen to people playing.
Yeah.
And and then talking about it afterwards and go, I really enjoyed that, or how did you do this? And just appreciate each other for the the individuals that we all are.
Yeah. And that develops the community. There's no pressure. It's completely cool to sound like you and develop that. That's what I kind of missed that point I wanted to make earlier, is that look at what you've got already.
Yeah.
And then just love it. And even if you don't feel like you can write something down, just I don't know. We're alive and playing guitar, and it's beautiful. I think if we just bring an attitude of love and gratitude and self-acceptance and community to our musicianship, things will happen.
Yeah, I agree. Just take a breath. Mm-hmm. Take a breath and enjoy what you're doing, and actually just lose yourself for a bit. I think that's been really important. It's so easy to be so connected to these things, and doom scrolling. You actually sit with a guitar and have the ability to disappear into whatever you're doing. Mm-hmm. Is a form of meditation, isn't it? It's a way of switching off and resetting, and I think that's so important. I think that's why a lot of people are taking the guitar up during this period.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember to spend time with the instrument without the computer on.
Yeah.
Buy an analog metronome or drum machine or loop pedal, like Pete, and don't play. Do go online, do all the lessons and stuff. Do all that stuff. But I think it can be easy. When I started playing guitar, first of all, when I was about 6 or 7, and it was all I wanted to do was listen to my parents' records and try and play acoustic guitar along to them. There's no internet, there's nothing. Those times are the most precious times in my life.
Yeah, it's almost when you had this special moment where you had time to do it because there was nothing else. You weren't, right, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got to do this, I've got to be here at this time. You are your own entity, not worrying about, if you're very fortunate, not worrying about the roof over your head or the food that might be presented to you every few hours. You must eat something. Stop playing guitar for 5 minutes. If you're fortunate enough to have had that, then that's wonderful. And I think with people being in lockdown now, they've got that opportunity to potentially revisit that and just enjoy. I tell you what I did, and you guys may have noticed it if you follow the Ibanez UK things. I'm a huge Steve Vai fan. Okay. Make no bones about that. And when the lockdown happened, I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to get back to roots. I'm going to just listen to all my favorite music and enjoy it and do some covers because I used to play that stuff and love it when I was like 14, 15. And you know what? It really lifted my spirits. It just reminded me that it's just, music is fun. It's good for the soul.
Freedom. I talk about skill sets. Just one thing I know we've got to finish in a second, literally on the dot. But learn by ear. That's the big one.
Well, that's where
doing it by ear. It's freedom. Same thing for me at lockdown. Had a moment to learn some cheesy 80s pop songs that I love, and it was just freedom, just to be able to. Not that I could play them perfectly, not that I could play the parts exactly right first time, but the ability just to actually hear and play things. I think everyone can work towards that every day, just by taking a simple melody, and you'll be able to speak through your guitar much more clearly.
It's about breaking down that. I mean, we're going deep now, but I suppose if you can hum it, then technically, as soon as you get the physical capability to be able to, you're not having to think too much about, I need to move my little finger now, then it's about breaking down that barrier, isn't it? As opposed to what you can audiate and then apply to the guitar. And then that's a forever journey, isn't it? Because you could think of, as you go, this is a really complex thing that I'm trying to, thinking about and I want to achieve. But you don't even think about it. It's just kind of a natural process during the improvisation process. And I'm no expert on improvisation, but that's how I feel about it when I'm kind of in the flow. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
just lost in it all and just enjoying it. Sam, thank you so much for joining me, and some really wonderful advice there. Where can people go to find out more about you if they don't already know because they've been living under a rock?
Well, my YouTube channel is almost at 10k subscribers, and that is Sam Bell Guitar. If you just search that on YouTube, that'd be really helpful if anybody's enjoyed what I said today. Lee, I really appreciate being part of this today. It means a lot.
Oh.
And I've also got Instagram, by the way, just as a separate note, Sam Bell Guitar. Just Sam Bell Guitar, you'll find my stuff and information. And there's sambellguitar.com for web lessons and extra stuff.
And all that stuff. And people can find you on in Guitar Interactive magazine, and they can find you on billions of different releases on Lick Library as well.
Water Bear, I'm lecturing there. There's online degrees of masters. I'm doing a master's whilst also teaching the BA honours at Water Bear, so that's fun. And of course, there's a little project happening with Andertons, but I don't think I can talk about that just yet.
Yeah, well, we'll maybe leave it with them to talk about that. Well, I'm sure we'll you end up coming back to do that with them at some point. Sam, thank you so much. If you're an Ibanez, if you're following the Ibanez UK social media, you'll see a lot more of Sam. As soon as we're able to get out of lockdown, we're certainly going to, make some more video content with Sam. Put the red light on him again.
Always a pleasure.
We'll have some more fun like that. So Sam, thank you so much for joining me, and we might see you later. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, I'll say goodbye, and I'll catch up with you soon.
See you soon. Bye bye. Thank you.
So there we are, guys. The wonderful Sam Bell. Fantastic player. If you've never heard him play, I know we didn't do any playing there. I mean, he was set up to, but he's got so many great things to say, and he's been on such a wonderful journey, and he was willing to share it. So there we go. Please check out Sam's work all across social media, and yeah, you won't regret it. That's for sure. So I'm going to sign off now. We are back at 6 p.m. GMT to speak to the wonderful, amazing Mr. Paul Gilbert. Hopefully he hasn't had any technical difficulties trying to get it onto the stream. That's what I need to check now, just to see how we're getting on with that. But I will be live at 6, and hopefully Paul will be ready to go with us there at the same time. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope it's been useful to you, and I'll speak to you soon. See you in a bit.